So welcome all to our March episode of Let's Talk Solutions. Today we are going to be covering Spectrum 101. A couple of housekeeping announcements. We are recording this session and we'll send out a link after the presentation. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A on your Zoom screen. My name is Amy Strom, and I'm the Director of Client Success here at Impact. And I'd like to introduce your presenter, Jill Byrne, who comes with over 15 years of experience as a Senior Solutions Engineer. Jill, take it away.
Okay, thank you. So today's agenda, we're going to spend all of our time in Spectrum. And so we'll go over some of the key administrative features in the system so that you can create an experience for your various stakeholders and supporters, from your donors and fund holders, your applicants, reviewers, and committee members, along with your board members. So we'll take a look at the system through the lens of those different site visitors, and then dive into the administrative areas within Spectrum of which you'll use to manage users, and also creating those roles to create those experiences. And then in our last moments, we'll take a look at some of the administrative features, such as creating the email templates. And then we'll stop with about 15 minutes or so left, so we give you guys a chance to ask some questions and get those answered. As Amy mentioned just a moment ago, please use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen within your, I guess, Zoom. We're using Zoom today. Yeah, Zoom settings. And then we'll try to answer those as we go along. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we'll take a look at Spectrum. Okay. Here we go. Hold on just a second. Those Zoom, I don't think you guys are seeing my screen yet. There it goes. Here we go. All right. So hopefully you're seeing Spectrum, the login. Now I do want to preface this with my Spectrum is a demo environment. So it's very, as what I call vanilla, out of the box. And so most of you that have Spectrum, you've gone through our implementation process, of which Spectrum was skinned and designed and configured and tailored to fit your organization. And so it's going to probably look different than mine does. So again, my demo environment is pretty vanilla, it's stripped down, but we're going to hone into the exact features that are taken care of in the administration. So we're going to talk about those different experiences that your site visitors, your various site visitors can have based on user roles. And so let's take a look at what some of those look like, such as, let's log in. Oops. Guess you need a password, huh? Let's log in as a fund holder. So the fund holder has the ability to leverage a handful of features that you can make available to them. And again, after we take a look at these various different types of roles, we'll dive into the administrative part and discuss how to configure these, give them access, maybe relabel, because you have a lot of flexibility on what you want them to be able to see and what you want them to be able to reach. And so as a fund holder, obviously we want to give them access to their funds. The various funds that they're associated with appears a drop-down box, and then the fund statement and what various sort of components related to that fund will appear in the grid below. Again, through the use of the user rule, you're going to be able to configure and change kind of how that view is presented to them. And we're going to get to that in a few moments. But they have such things as being able to see the history of grants related to their funds. Just so everybody is aware, the grid functions that you're seeing here are pretty nice for the users. As someone logs in, they have the ability to rearrange these data columns in whatever order makes sense to them, along with the capability of being able to filter on certain data points, being able to configure what they're seeing here based on different options. Oops, that was the filter again. There we go. Which columns to show within the list. And that's all user-based. So what I'm getting at there is everybody who has a login, they can tailor this view to what makes sense for them. And then that remains for them. So it's kind of like a sticky setting. This little upwards arrow, sometimes, he's so small and kind of quiet there, but it's pretty powerful because as you see that label popping up there, it's saying export. So if somebody wants to get this data out, they can certainly do that by exporting it, creating a CSV file that can be opened with Excel. And you'll see that those same types of features throughout. Now you have control over these grid settings. And again, we're going to take a look at the administrative area in the system in just a few moments where we can control that. They can also, of course, come in and do grant recommendations. And this form and how it's filled out and submitted is, again, something that's tailorable and controlled in the administrative area. And so I'll highlight that when we get to diving into those admin duties. Let's see. So they can also, of course, do a fund transfer. If they want to transfer monies across their funds, they can do that here and be able to issue grants. This recommendations is kind of like a comprehensive view of those recommendations that they've communicated to the organization, from those that they're still working on, they might just have them saved, to those that they have submitted and can take a look at the status and where those are amongst the process. Those that have reached the process, and then what those statuses are. And again, you've seen this grid before. And the user has a lot of control here and their ability to tailor the review. And like I said, this little upward arrow guy gives them a chance to export it out if they need to. And so not to go too deep into each one of these, because I want to show you guys a variety of different views based on these user roles. But as you can see, whatever your relationship is with your fund holders and the various tasks that you want them to be able to accomplish using Spectrum Web Portal, the various options that appear over here on the right side are very flexible. Again, that's through the use of those user roles. So we'll dive into those in just a moment. To move on to another experience, let's talk about our applicants. Our applicants within this system, oh, I guess it doesn't have an S. There we go. So the grant applicant, again, once you grant them access to Spectrum, notice how this menu over here on the right side completely changed. Now we're looking at Spectrum through the lens of your applicant. And what do we want to give them rights to? How do we want them to navigate in the system? Being able to see the grants that are available, go into their application process and see those that they've saved, those that they've submitted, being able to see the dollars awarded and those various awards that they've received under there, and reference and reports. So these are examples of the various features that you can provide to that grant applicant, and being able to dive right into the things that they need to get to. By going to the available grants, again, your organization has a lot of leverage here on the various grants that you want to make available. And many organizations that we work with start off with like a main application, or sometimes I refer to this as the eligibility quiz, an application that you can have them go through just to make sure that they're eligible and what various grants make sense that fit them based on the various interests that they have. Maybe they've got some amounts and different types of things that you want to capture. Once they submit that, then the system will know, what grants do we want to make available. And for those of you that have grants that have certain seasons or only allow applicants during certain periods of time, of course, you can configure that also. An example of those would be like these special projects at the bottom here. They are available only during certain periods of time. And again, that's a setting that you can choose. So only those that are currently taking applications appear. And the grants that you can promote on the dashboard for the various grant applicants underneath this featured application. So if I navigate back out to the dashboard, these various information tiles that the user has the capability of rearranging and promoting and kind of putting where they want. Again, that's just some more user tailoring that's kind of nice to have. But your organization, again, through the administrative features that we're going to dive into here in a few moments, you have a lot of flexibility over what you want to place within these tiles and make available to the site visitors. So if there are applications maybe that don't have a lot of criteria or are pretty open-ended that anybody can apply for, you can certainly promote those. Or for any situations such as emergency situations where you want to put something out right away so that applicants can just dive straight in, you can certainly do that through the use of the features in the administrative area. And as I mentioned, we're going to circle back to that in a few moments and dive in. To move on through the experiences here, let's take a look at what, I can't type and talk at the same time here. So this would be the lens of our reviewers or our committees and board members. Notice this menu again changed dynamically based on that login. So we'll take a look at how to create these logins so that you're promoting the exact areas of the system that they should have access to. So if they're a committee member, they would have a dashboard showing them kind of a glimpse of the various features and so forth. And again, you have complete control over what appears here on these tiles. And then they can just pop straight into the areas that they need to review. They'll show up here in a list. Notice the print icon. That's really a nice feature that's kind of peppered throughout Spectrum, giving your site visitors the capability of printing, so if they'd like to get that paper, rather look at the scholarship outside of the web portal, they can certainly do that. And so this particular assignment to that committee member, that reviewer, we can promote the areas of which we want them to score by this first tab here. So out of the entire application, this tab is specifically promoting the exact areas within that application that we want them to score. They certainly can go into the whole application if they want to see the whole thing. And that, of course, is this application tab of which you can present all of the various pages of the application. Again, just to preface this, my demo environment is very stripped down. It's kind of simplistic just to kind of show you the features of the system. Obviously, your applications probably have a lot more fields and you're gathering a lot more information. But so as you build out your applications with your supplemental pages, your addendums, and all of those things, in a few moments, we'll jump into where you can manage all of that. Okay, so that was our reviewer. Let's take a look at the lens of the board member. So our board members being able to provide them the dockets and so forth, it's going to look somewhat similar as far as they all get the dashboard. That's a common element that all of the various user roles can have. Again, you can relabel, you can decide what appears on that dashboard. But for the board member role, they're going to see things like dockets. Obviously, that's probably one of the most important things. Our board members, there's our little printer icon. So if you've got members of your board that would rather see this in paper, they can certainly print out their docket. The docket that we want them to take a look at and review will be presented. Of course, what appears on the docket is configured in GE NXT, which we're not going to dive into how to prepare dockets. We'll probably have a future Let's Talk Solutions about those types of specific processes. But today we're honing in on how the experience for those various site visitors are leveraged through the use of the roles and the security. And so down here, I could present to my board member what's on the docket. Again, they have the ability to indicate their approval or decline, abstain, have the ability to save and come back and revisit. Maybe they're not ready yet to submit. They want to do a little more examination. When they're all done, they can choose the submit. And again, this translates back through to GE NXT. So those are the main areas within the application or within the Spectrum web portal that I wanted to cover with, because those are usually the most common. By starting on this register for those, let's take a look at the registration page. And again, this is configurable to anybody that came in after I'd already announced that my demo environment is kind of just out of the box. When we implement Spectrum, our implementation team will spend time with your organization to tailor and configure Spectrum so that it matches your existing website with your logos, your colors, your fonts, and all of that. So this is kind of what it looks like out of the box, so to speak, before it's had that facelift. But from here, now we're going to dive into this portal access. So how, now that I've kind of given you a preview of those variety of roles that you can create, let's now dive into how do we do that? What steps where do I go in the application when I want to create these various roles? And so from here, this is our registration page. You can choose when you're creating your roles, if you want to make them available and how, when someone applies for them, if they're automatically accepted, or do they have to go through a review, or it has to be submitted and then someone at the organization would have to grant that access. Or like I said, you can make it so it's just automatic depending on the role itself. So we'll dive in and take a look at these various portal access roles. All right, so to do that, I'm going to have to give myself some abilities here. So I'm going to log in under my name, and I have all the bells and whistles opened up to me. And so this right side menu, you're going to see grow as we scroll down. So now you're seeing, I'm kind of like in with all the features opened up. So this is kind of what everything would look like, but we're going to kind of hone in down here in these administrative areas. So like, let's start with the organization admin. What's that one? So the organization admin can control the level of access for portal users who register with the same organization. So you can designate someone within that organization to manage users. So this again would be a way to allow an organization to manage who is within their organization and what they're allowed to do. Let's see, let's go into the application management. A few moments ago, you heard me mention about those applications and deciding what should be visible to what pages should be within. So there's a lot of options that are related to managing those applications, from configuring them, as far as, the name of it, the type. Are we going to have organizations, individuals? And I mentioned that you guys can decide if it's an open-ended or if it has a period of time, if it's restricted to only a certain season. If it's no longer accepting applications, just uncheck the box and then it's no longer available. And then you can also choose whether or not it shows up in Spectrum. So maybe you're in the middle of testing it and configuring it, and you're not ready to make it available yet. You can certainly uncheck that box until you're ready. Also featured, as we were examining those various views in the system based on the login rules, I mentioned that you have the ability to promote certain applications into that tile, and that's your way of doing that and featuring it. Can they create multiple applications and those types of options? Do we want to validate read-only fields, require passwords for new applicants? All those types of features are managed from within the application management role. The editor allows you to go into one of your applications and select specific pages within those, and be able to configure exactly how you want the data fields to appear. This is kind of a neat little HTML editor. Let me go down here to the bottom and create some space for myself. These various options, these various tasks that you see up here on the menu bar, are your ability to add different information, insert various fields. So maybe I want to bring in, let's bring in phone number. And it's just that easy. So I can drag and drop these and rearrange them around if I need to. And then, so there's a lot of tools and a lot of options that come with the editor here within the application editor setting. Do you want to test that application? By choosing the test applications, you're going to see all of the applications that you've created, and it allows you just to kind of take a look at them and test them, practice with them. Here's the one we were just looking at. Whether you want to preview it as a whole, do you want to test it? And again, that gives you a chance to review it, make sure that you have your pages within your application arranged the way that you'd like it to be before you go in and make it live and make it available out on Spectrum for everybody. Let's see, and manage your supplementals. That's a good one. And again, this is related to a specific application, and it gives you the ability to take a look at those supplemental pages. A lot of times those supplemental pages have maybe a check-in period. So there'll be maybe if it's you're building a scholarship and you need a report from the school, you need to see grades or whatever that happens to be, those supplementals, or if I picked one that didn't have any supplementals, but the supplementals that you have within your applications and how to manage those come within that user role, or excuse me, user option right there. Okay, so let's keep going through. I'm going to come back to site admin in just a moment, drop down here to user admin, as far as that's your way of managing the users. So I'm thinking of, for example, if anybody happens to lock themselves out, so maybe you need to set a temporary password. Notice this option over here on the right side that says locked. So if someone has attempted to log in with the incorrect password too many times, they're going to get locked out, probably contact you. So your way of coming in to manage that would be the web users. You can set a temporary password and unlock their user role and give them another try. You can also come in and change the various roles of which that they've been granted access to. Let's see. So let's go back up here to the site admin. Crack that one open. All right, so lots of options here. Look at all those. So site admin, I would say, has the most control. So we'll spend a lot of time here kind of going over a variety of these, because as I've been demoing the various roles in the system and the various views into the system, I've been mentioning how the site admin will be kind of where you're able to control things like page settings, those user roles, the email configuration, various reports that you want to make available, the page settings within Spectrum, all those tabs I mentioned before. You can control what how that experience is as they're doing like a fund transfer or a grant recommendation. And then the tiles, all those little grids, those tiles and the grids, they're all configurable. So there's a lot of power at your fingertips to control how you want Spectrum to work, to what you want the different site visitors to be able to see and have access to. So let's see, let's go up here to the roles and menus and kind of talk about the various web portal roles. So as you were watching me log out and log back in with those various rules applied, and that kind of dictated what we got to see over on the right side panel. So what capabilities will they have access to? We have a variety of roles already baked into Spectrum, such as donor, board members, applicants. The system comes with several different role options within here. I often recommend just kind of going in and you can take a look at the various settings for those roles. I mentioned before that you can choose whether or not when someone is registering for that role, whether that goes into an automatic pending status until someone at your organization has an opportunity to review and approve, or you can set it so that it's automatically approved once they hit submit and fill out that registration form. Active, that's a really good one to know as you're working on the setting, or maybe you no longer want to present that. That gives you the option of whether or not you want to make it available out for folks to register for. And then some other options that you have also as the capability of whether or not they require organization info or contact info, and you guys can all see the various options that you have control over with regards to the settings. And then if we take a look at the menu option, this is kind of where the fun comes in. And what I mean by that is when I was taking you on a tour of the fund holders role, and all of those options that were on the right side, so all of these over here, this is a list of all of those. Notice the active option or inactive option. So it's a good opportunity to review, and you can take a look and decide what do we want to make available? What are the things that they're going to want to accomplish when they're visiting Spectrum? It's very easy to go in and make some changes. Again, I mentioned you can relabel them. So that main kind of home page, we refer to as dashboard, but if you'd like to call it something else, you can certainly do so. And again, as I mentioned, you can also inactivate it. You don't want that at all. So it's a good idea to kind of review each one of these and make a decision on how do we want to present this? What do we want it to say? Do we even want to use it at all? And then you can make those decisions as you go through those various options there. So again, I mentioned that we send the system out with a handful of base rules, but notice this option that says user-defined rule. So maybe we want to kind of take what comes with Spectrum and personalize it a little more, give it maybe a unique or a different type of access based on the donor profile, the donor role. I want to maybe create a sub role. So that would be one that is specific to our organization, or the board member, or an administrator within my organization. So I can take those base roles, and it's almost like doing a save as. So I've got examples of this right here. This donor one right at the top, that is how that user role comes with Spectrum. But then I wanted to create a role that was related to my prospects. You know, I want them to be able to come in and maybe do a fund creation and donate, but you know, they don't need a lot of those other options that I would normally present to my fund holder. And then what if I've got some prospective fund holders, maybe somebody that's considering opening a DAF and starting to engage with us, but we want them to be able to come out to Spectrum and have an experience, and maybe even give them the ability to go ahead and open that new fund. And so these are examples of the existing roles within the system that I've kind of personalized or tailored or fine-tuned to meet our exact needs. And notice it, out of all of the various menu options, in this example, my prospective fund holder, notice that a lot of these are turned off. So when they log in, they're seeing their homepage or their dashboard. They get to see their gift history, maybe recommend or want to open a new fund, make a donation, and you know, that's about it. Oh, and they get some documents, and that's about it. So I can create that personal experience for those specific stakeholders and supporters of our organization. I've done that for a handful of these, again, just to give examples of how you can tailor these rules to fit your needs and how you want your site visitors to experience the system. Okay, so I mentioned before that the role that we're in right now, which is the site admin, they definitely have the most capabilities, but you can also create sub roles for your administrators also, as you saw there towards the bottom. But if the site admin has the ability to go in and change a lot of things, including configure emails. So if some of you were aware, we had an upgrade, a release here not too long ago, and we kind of beefed up the email editor, and now it's an HTML, so it supports a lot more robust types of communications that you might want to distribute. The system comes with a handful of templates, so baked right into Spectrum, again, just to kind of give you a starting place. And so these templates, you know, they're kind of basic, but they just give you some place to start. But from here, I can continue to tailor and configure that email message. Maybe I want to put in a logo, or maybe there's some other fields that I'd rather have be included within. And that, as you just saw, is a drag and drop straight from these lists of fields. So these are insert fields, meaning that as I'm creating this template, And when this email is generated, it will fill these insert fields with the appropriate data. So in other words, when this one goes out, it would say, hello, John Smith, thank you for your fund request admitted to the such and such fund. And so, as you guys know, a lot of you have probably worked with insert fields. That's exactly how you'll build this template. But you have a lot of flexibility here. For example, if you want to insert your company logo, you can do that. Let's see. Oh, that's kind of a pretty one. Oops, sorry. And be able to insert that right in the top, whatever your logo and so forth. And if you have certain fonts that you like to use, very flexible with all of the different tools that we have up here at the top. Once you're done configuring it, maybe you want to test it. So that you can make sure that it's the way that you envisioned. You can send a test email to yourself. Notice that you can make it so that when these are generated, do we want to make sure that there's a CC or someone else is carbon copied on that message when it goes out? And then once you're done, you can make the email available, and it will be part of the processes. There's certain things within Spectrum as those triggers are enabled, these emails come out automatically. You also have control over, as I mentioned before, the grid settings. That's the various different data fields. Those were the ones I mentioned before that users have the capability to move around, add different columns, or be able to export. And so you have a lot of control over what data appears within those data fields. And then also help topics. So if you want to maybe customize the help, our help's this little kind of green tab tucked in over here. So if there's some personalization you want to make to the help section, you can certainly do that. Let's see, getting down to the last few. So news feeds, is there some announcements that you want to make available? That news feeds, that was one of those tiles that was on the dashboard when we were looking at the various roles. And so you can decide, maybe you have different announcements for those different roles, different things you want to say to the fund holders, different things you want to say to your board members. And so the news feed gives you the capability of promoting or communicating something to those specific roles. File manager, this is one of my favorite features. This is your capability of sending and providing documents per user role. So if I have certain documents that I want to send out to my board members, certain documents I want to send out to the donors and the fund holders, maybe be able to upload some of the fund statement information and so forth. All of that is capable through that file manager admin option. And lastly, I'll stop here at the release notes. So as you heard me mention, we do releases. One of the great features of being on a program like Spectrum is that we here at Impact take care of updating the system for you. We certainly do present those changes. Some of you have probably attended our webinars highlighting what's on the horizon for our releases. And so, but if you happen to miss that, you can come in here to the release notes and see, and review exactly what was changed, including prior releases. Okay, so I'm keeping an eye on the time here. I'm going to go ahead and stop here and open it up for any questions that you guys may have been feeling on the rest of my panel here.
Let's see if there's any we can highlight that people have been bringing out. How do you create a new email template and a trigger? Do you have that information in there, Jill?
The email, these email templates are preset in the system. And so the triggers are kind of based on various actions within the system. So for example, like when a new fund request comes in, they aren't triggers that you have to worry about controlling. They're already preset in the system. So like in this example, once someone submits an application, the email is just automatically generated to go out to them to let them know that their email, or excuse me, that their application was received. But again, you can control kind of the content. What do you want to say to them? How do you want that email to be presented to them? What information do you want inside?
Great. There was another one. Is it possible to send an email to all users with whatever is pushed onto the newsfeed?
I do not believe so, but I know we've got other experts on, so feel free to unmute yourselves and correct me, but I don't believe that you can send an email out based on the news feed, but my brain's kind of scrambling because I'm thinking a better option than Spectrum might be in GE. In GE NXT, you have the ability to send mass communication or communicate to your constituents and so forth. So that might be a better spot to send out email communications, because the Spectrum ones are kind of triggered by actions in the system.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hi, folks. This is Jeff Armstrong. I'm Chief Product Officer, and Jill is correct. As you enter in new newsfeed items, we don't yet have a way to email those to your phone holders or to whichever role we're talking about. But that's a feature that we'd love to add. That's a great feature idea. In the short term, as Jill said, you can definitely do that through correspondence in GE NXT and GE Classic.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. I think we have time for one more here. It says, where can you see what email templates are already created and in use?
So back into this configure emails, let's pop back in here. Let's see. So see there's some options here, email enabled. So let me go ahead and create one. The ones that have this box checked means that they are on there when those triggers happen, that email is going to go out.
Hope that helps.
Now, hopefully those on the phone, you guys are familiar with our knowledge base, because that's another resource of which you can go into to find some really great articles related to both GE NXT and Spectrum and Endowment Manager, so you can kind of see all of the components of the Foundation Cloud out here. We also keep these Let's Talk solutions out here in this directory, so that you can visit these at another time. As Amy mentioned, though, we do record them and we usually follow it up with an email. But if by chance you accidentally deleted that email, just visit our knowledge base and you can re-watch these Let's Talk solutions. But also there's some really great articles out here about Spectrum, and several things about the user roles and portal settings. So for any of you that are kind of hungry for a little more, I highly recommend you visit our knowledge base. And that might be able to give you a little more insight into the user roles.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jill.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll go back to our screen. Great. So if you'd like to connect with either Jill or I, please reach out. Our emails are listed there on your screen. And stay in touch with us. Contact hello@npac.com to receive all the update communications, and connect with us on your favorite social media. We are on all platforms. And I want to thank you for joining us and spending time with us today. Our next Let's Talk Solutions will be on Wednesday, April 20th. We will be sending out, when, like Jill mentioned, we'll send out the recording to this session. And we'll be putting in there an invitation to an informational webinar about our upcoming Power BI. So watch for that link to join that, and we'll see you all next month. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye.